What do we got? We got Team 1 together with Broton as well as Christina with Kib in the back. We got ourselves Locke, OP Copium, and Skull Breaker versus Seavark coming out as a Frosty mage, trying to get some Frostbolts up and running. I do like the Seavark is trying to give Frost a bit of a run. Gonna be Skullbreaker with immediate reflect on the polymorph, not happening to Skullbreaker because of a Blade Storm. And looks like, is this man playing Night Fade? Bro, he got like one shoulder and the chest piece of Night Fade, and he got the rest of the ability, the rest of them from like WAD. He kind of mix and match like a Maw going on. I kind of like it. Gonna be a big old charge by Skullbreaker, trying to get some damage onto Seavark, locking him out on Shadow. Seavark is actually able to get full frost damage, double lockdown onto Seavark with knockdowns from the Fey ability. Skullbreaker charging in. He does look like he has a charge. Oh, they actually updated the animation, did they not? Wait, hold on. I think I know what this is. This is Warbringer. Charge roots enemies for 2 seconds, but it now has like a green, like a shatter effect behind the enemy when they do the charge. Seavark under quite a bit of pressure is going to go for a Deathborn, Ice Evades, Ice Form damage. Skullbreaker taking lots of Frostbolts back to back in terms of damage. Big shatter combos. Leaping in onto Seavark. Alter time is up, has a rare frost for a little bit. Skullbreaker, big old charge. Look at that shatter behind Seavark. That is the Warbringer talent, which allows you a 2-second root on a target. Warbringer, charge, roots enemies for 2 seconds, and emanates and shockwaves past the target, rooting the targets behind them for 15 yards. It actually looks so cool, dude. It looks like part of the Necro Covenant, honestly. But it looks fantastic. Blade Storm, trying to see if he can avoid the polymorphs from Seavark. Seavark under actually quite a bit of pressure. Finally getting a poly onto Skullbreaker. Rough start for him. But it's trying to see if he can make it work. Invis might be able to go behind like a pillar somewhere. Maybe catch up on foot. Skullbreaker making sure to pick up the eye. Searching for the mage. Should be able to see him and the elemental running away. Does get a Nova onto Skullbreaker. Does that put him in combat? I think it does. Reflect for the Frostbolts as the Common Storm comes down. Kind of crazy. Actually kind of crazy amount of damn going on, boys. Reflect or Seavark has himself full ice form available. Frostbolts should be doing quite a bit of damage. And Skullbreaker just reflect those back at him. Just trying not to make sure that he doesn't slow down at all. Big Rampage is going to be an Ice Block. Dusty Shatter immediately. He does go for the immediate Shatter. Actually goes for the immediate Shatter. Seavark can't go anywhere all the time. Gets the least amount of health. Does get himself the triple shield back up and running. Poly onto Skullbreaker. Did not have a Blaze Storm for that one. My God. This guy has just been just absolutely intense this whole time. Massive leap. Catching up for Seavark. Trying not to let him get any kind of healing. Big old charge. And Seavark trying to see if he might be able to bow out of there. Is going to have himself the Icy Veins used. Oh no, Icy Veins. Cold Snap in order to get Ice Block back up. Locked out on Arcane for a second. Does get himself Deathborn. Going to be Reflect for Skullbreaker. Is going to be frozen if he walks out of the ring. It's going to be a Poly on top of it. Maybe now Seavark can do some damage because this man is going to get frozen. Either way, he likes a big leap out of the Ring of Frost. Immuning and actually just ignoring the freeze altogether. Super unfortunate. Seavark does have Ice Form back up. There's going to be actually a blink passive just not to get hit by the Frostbolt. Big comments coming down, but Seavark's health is looking kind of sketch. Ice Block back up, so he should be okay, maybe. As long as Skullbreaker doesn't have like a big wombo combo available. Can someone peep if Skullbreaker is running Slaughterhouse just to make sure? Because I imagine that'll be the standard on Until in the future. There's going to be Seavark at super low health. Does blink back into the Night Fae ability. The knockdown does get him quite low. Did press Ice Block at the last second. If only his health was a little bit lower than the Fae knockdown ability, the damage it does, the nature damage, might have actually been a one-shot, dude. Might have been a one-shot. Endless Duel, dude, Skullbreaker isn't going anywhere. He's just going to continue healing himself over and over and over. This man is not going down without a big old fight. And Seavark isn't going to give up either. Which neither of these two boys should do that. Neither of these boys should give up. But Skullbreaker, I think, is creating an interesting situation where double charge and using the knockdown with a Night Fae, as well as the Torrent ratio, does give him enough for lockdown, while also being able to constantly root enemies, constantly chase them with charges, which is quite substantial there. It's going to be a Trinket out of the polymorph. Is he going to be able to stop the next one? Doesn't drop the second one. It's going to be a Ring of Frost to follow. Big execute onto Seavark. And Skullbreaker goes for a massive, massive roar at the end. Yandex's going to be up next. And finally, Team 2 is going to be seeing some new people out of there. Yandex switching it up with an Unholy Death Knight, which Unholy in PTR is looking quite awesome right now. Going to be Reflect out for Skullbreaker immediately. Yandex, I think, tried to see if he can hit him with... I don't really know what he interrupted him. He did reflect something. I think might have been an interrupt or he reflected. MS up for Yandex, trying to get his full Army of the Dead. Skullbreaker trying to avoid the Army of the Dead as best as he can. Gets a slow into Yandex. Does get stunned by that second repent. That's going to be yet another grip into a stun. Does the Army of the Dead join? The Army of the Dead joins the fight. And so does Kevin Slime, spitting at Skullbreaker. He's just trying to avoid the Army of the Dead as best as he can. Letting the pets have a long way around, like this rampy area. Leap onto Yandex. Has himself wreck. And I wonder if he has the Raging Blows that do give him a charge with that wreck. Because that would be pretty good. Is he using like... It looks like he's using like a weird kind of overpower ability there as a Fury. Yandex super low in health. Could be in that execute range. I think it's going to be going down. And Skullbreaker does demolish him. 10 minutes into this duel. 10 minutes, 58 seconds left. Who's going to be up next, boys? Who's going to be the next? Spencer as a Arcane Mage. Up next versus Skullbreaker. Who was the fifth that left the team 1, by the way? I don't remember who it was. Trying to get himself a Deathborn up and running. Skullbreaker reflecting something, anything out of Spencer. Not really sure exactly what he reflected. Arcane missiles flying, does get interrupted. Spencer better be very, very careful with his health. Not a lot of health to work with. Does have a singular shield, and looks like Skullbreaker just kept rampaging through the defensives. Not an Icebook was seen that day. I don't know about Alta Time either. Dead Void is gonna be up next. Hey, is this Void form? Is this Void form? I remember you, my guy. How you doing? Gonna be an interrupt by Skullbreaker. As Dead Void trying to get the damage in. Gonna be a big Shadow Crash, and Skullbreaker actually avoiding them as best as he can. They're just flying in all the directions. He wants to make sure he's nowhere near them, taking that free damage. Does interrupt Dead Void on Shadow, trying to get him yet another charge in. Gets a lot of rage out of those charges, and I think a lot of healing on top of it too, doesn't he? I would imagine. Dead Void though, not an amazing spot. Again, another void eruption coming out of him. And I think that was Megalomania. Using Surrender Tomatoes to get one of them, and using the normal void form and to get another Shadow Crash. The Shadow Volley does go down to Skullbreaker either way though. Trying out some of the new Honor Towns did not quite work out him like he wanted to. Chicago up next, looking to decimate Skullbreaker. Doesn't get to. Blessing of Protection stops the warrior from being able to do much. Trying to see if he can outmaneuver the Paladin. Does have more mobility than a Pally though. Massive Judgments flying back to back at Chicago, not getting knocked down. That's going to be a seed pod for Skullbreaker. I don't think it's going to survive it, and Chicago does end up taking down this warrior. This bull rampaging through the streets of London, dude. Gonna be a Convoke available for Christina. Does get interrupted. I think he's playing the Minute Convoke. So if he can survive until the end of the Convoke, Chicago will not have an answer for it. Gonna be a stun to Christina. Does check it out, but Chicago with no health at all. Does have the Guardian Legendary, the tanky one, proccing for him to get himself a little bit of defensive, enough to stay alive and press bubble. So at least he survived that burst. I like his Death Knight Mog, by the way. That's like a very much a hazel, bluish, like silver, like appeal for it. And also Lightforge Zonai. We don't see a lot of Lightforge so often. Chicago does try to stay toe-to-toe with Christina. Christina does have a wall. Chicago's actually out of all defenses, so unless he just continues to spam heal himself, he'll be in a bad spot. Cyclone is going to prevent him from movement, but also going to allow Christina to reset. If Chicago isn't careful with the Consecration, yep, that's going to happen. Christina is going to get himself a reset, get himself a rake from an opener, get himself a bigger damage off of it. Chicago tried to get a big old proc to Christina. That is Thorns by the Feral. Chicago better be very, very careful with that Thorns. Bash by Christina, looking for another Convoke, does get interrupted. Bash does not last long at all. Chicago does get the Guardian Lego proccing, but it wasn't enough. Was not enough. Dude, Skullbreaker just absolutely rampaged. Absolutely rampaged. That was actually nutty. Night Fae, I like his lockdown he has. With the Night Fae knockdown, War Stomp, and he's kind of banking for that Night Fae knockdown again. So it's a knockdown, stunned by the War Stomp, into a knockdown. That's like 4 seconds of CC.